Okay, we've talked about the MD4 and the MD4 in DXP mode, and no little video series about the System 6000 would be complete without me mentioning at least a little about the MD3, which was of course the reason I got a System 6000 in the first place. But what we're going to do is we're not going to talk about this standard 3-band multi-band compression mode on the MD3. We're going to talk about the MS mode, which I'm using increasingly more and more, particularly in my dance music production and electronic music production. MS mode allows us to split the stereo and the mono and compress both individually, so we can create focus with the more mono things down the middle, or we can bring out the stereo image a lot more, or vice versa. And I found this particularly useful in the last few months on a lot of progressive dubstep remixes that I've been doing. Because unlike traditional production where most of the time the bass is right down the center, with a lot of the dubstep stuff you have a lot of very wide bass parts that need to jump out of the mix. And I've found that the MD3 in MS mode allows you to create some great dramatic effects in real time. So we're going to just quickly look at the MD3, run you through the pages on it, and then we're going to show you the example with and without, and how I can dynamically change it within the mix to change things. So here's the interface for the MD3. Similar in some ways to the MD4. You've got a main page where you can set all the things like what mode it's in. In this case it's in decode mode, MS unlinked. The crossover points. You've got an EQ page, again like the MD4. You've got a normalizer page. You've got an expander page, and then you've got a compression page with a lot of the same controls as the MD4. So you've got threshold, gain, ratio, attack, release. In this mode, because we're in MS mode, we've got mono and stereo parts with all those settings available per part. If we were working in 3-band mode, there would be one page for the high, mid and the low. But because, as I said, we're working in mono stereo, we've got two separate sets of controls to precisely get those two things right. Now what I've done on the on this setup is I've actually predefined the compression all for the mono and the compression all for the stereo onto faders, and put them on the left and far right faders of the icon controller, and also obviously up in the software here. It's a really great feature of the System 6000 that it allows you to fader assign any parameters you want to the faders at the bottom. So no matter what page you are within a plugin, within one of the algorithms, you can actually just still automate and change those parameters by just grabbing the faders. So I quite often find myself grouping, before I start work with an algorithm, my most oft-used controls onto the 6 faders. So as I say, whatever page I'm on, it doesn't matter, I can just quickly grab those controls. Okay, so let's have a little listen. I'm going to play you the raw file. This is a remix, this kind of progressive dubstep remix that I recently did. And here's the raw file going into Logic and straight out again. Okay, that's your raw file. Now let's have a little listen to the one that's going through the MD3. Now already you can hear that it's much more punchy, much more lively, which was obviously part of the reason that I put it into the MD3. But now I'm going to show you the mono stereo side of things. So as I said, I've got the 2 faders, the left and the far right faders, set up to control that. And I'm going to bring the track back a little bit further, where we've got a kind of 4 to the floor section before the big dubstep breakdown. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that section a little bit more focused and mono. And then when the dubstep comes in, I'm going to really widen the stereo so we really get to hear that effect. Okay, so here we go.
If I use what I have found, then even if I fall,
So we've really widened the stereo now. I can show you it narrow again. You can hear how all the pads and stuff have dropped away to the centre. And then back again. And then back to a more focused sound down the middle. So it's a very simple way of showing you how tremendously powerful this tool can be. I sometimes use it on the whole mix as I've just done there, or I may set up 2 or 3 instances of this and send various different parts out from within my mix, and in real time widen them or narrow them. And as I said already, it's such a great facility of having these faders at your disposal right there. It encourages you to just kind of do those real-time things that you wouldn't necessarily do if you were just using software. So that's the MD3 in MS mode.